welcome to Creatives Panoply on Sabi Writers TV. I am Folakemi. So on this show, the last time we brought to you a professional editor. He actually gave us the tips and what not to do as a writer when editing your book after writing. So today we'll be taking a different turn. Yes. So today I have with me, guess. Okay, so let me just cut straight to the chase. Today I have with me a graphic designer. Yes, he's a professional graphic designer. And we will be talking about how to translate copy ideas into creative designs. Yes, how to translate copy ideas into creative design. So if you want to know who that person is, just stay tuned and we'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, guys. I'm super excited because of the person I have with me today. Yes, he's a graphic designer. Let me not introduce him. Let him do the introduction himself. So introduce yourself to us.
Okay, my name is Femi Awolola.
Femi.
Yeah, and I'm actually happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So how long have you been working as a graphic designer?
Wow.
Don't tell me since you were born, because I don't think that's possible.
I've been a designer for over 7 years.
Wow, 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time. So your experience so far as a designer, just a little hint, like your journey as a designer.
I think I would like to talk about what led me into design.
Okay.
I think it was passion that led me into design.
Okay.
So there was a particular day I just left my house. I was going somewhere and I just felt like there was more I could do with my life than what I was studying in school then.
Yeah. So if I may ask, what did you study in school?
I studied mining engineering.
Mechanical engineering.
Mining
engineering. Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
But then I knew that my interest was not in mining. So I thought of what I could do outside that.
Okay.
And I thought of different things. I thought about learning how to draw with my hands. And I felt I was too old for that.
Oh, so, you were too old as 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I felt like, okay, I thought of what I could do. And the idea of graphics came to my mind. And that was what led me to becoming a graphic designer.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So you've been working as a full-time graphic designer for a while, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So what's the experience like? Because I know graphic designers are the free type. They don't like to be caged. Let me use the word in quote. They don't like to be caged. Like, they want to just freelance. But you're working as a full-time graphic designer and you've been doing it for a while. Like, what's your experience so far?
Well, I love the question because I didn't start out as a full-time graphic designer. I started as a freelancer.
Yeah, I said it's...
Yeah. So then, when I was just freelancing, I knew that there was more I could do with myself than just doing freelancing. There were things I was learning and I felt I needed real experience.
Okay.
So it became my goal to look for a platform that could give me that privilege of learning practical aspect of designs. Because all I was doing then was just to do flyers. So I knew I needed more. So when I got the chance, I just took it up. And the experience has been beautiful so far. Yeah. Though sometimes I think it could be challenging as a designer, but it has been beautiful, trust me.
Wow.
Because it has pushed me beyond my comfort zone. It has pushed me to learn different part of designs. The things I learned on the pages of book, I got the chance to have the real experience of those things. Yeah.
Okay, wow. So I think there's actually that good part when it comes to professionalism. Let me put it as that. Professionalism is actually a good thing, but I feel people shy away from it, especially creative.
Yes.
So how do you interpret, you said you got the passion right from 7 years ago. So how do you interpret a copy?
Okay.
What's the process?
My process is very simple.
Okay.
I know most designers are tempted to just jump on their system and start designing, which is not good. The first design tool is not really design softwares.
Okay.
In my own opinion, okay, there was a day, let me give you a good example. There was a day I had a training session with some people,
Okay.
and I raised the question that what is the best design tool? And they mentioned different tools. Some mentioned CorelDRAW, some Photoshop, and different things like that. That day I said something different, which might be new to them. I said the best design tool is your mind.
Mind.
Yeah.
Wow.
So our mind is the best design tool. So because every software we are using as designers, they are product of the mind.
True.
So as a designer, when I get a copy, the first thing I do is to think over the copy. I ponder over it. And my goal as a designer is to see things from the writer's perspective, not just my own opinion. So I take my time to understand the intent of the writer, the direction at which the writer intends for the copy. So when I have that understanding, that is when I can truly interpret that copy visually, because design is actually visual communication.
Oh, wow.
It's thinking made visible.
Sure.
So the part of the thinking has to be taken serious by the designer. So I take that part serious. If I can get it right in my mind, like I said, my mind is my best design tool. If I can get it right in my mind, when I go on Photoshop to do my design, it becomes very easy. So my creative process starts from the mind.
The mind.
When I make my conclusions in my mind, and I can now move to my software. I use Photoshop most times. Then I can now translate what I have in my mind to visuals.
Okay. So you talked about interpreting a writer's copy.
Yeah.
Like getting the writer's perspective. So in cases where you have conflict of ideas, you get a copy, for instance, this is what you think the copy should look like, but you probably finish designing and you put it out there and the writer is like, no, this is not what I meant to say. How do you resolve such issues? Now you're laughing because I know you go through that a lot.
Sure.
From that smile. So how do you do that?
I somewhat believe in communication.
Okay.
And most times as human, we have tendencies of being defensive or to see things from our own perspective. Sure. So I think as a designer, one must be patient enough to understand things from the writer's perspective, because we're not working independently, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to depend on what they are giving us before we can really produce any design. So the first thing I'm going to do is to take time to communicate with the writers rather than just doing things based on assumption. Because assumption could be costly sometimes. So I don't assume things. I try to communicate with the writer to understand the writer's intention for a particular copy. There's an intent, I believe. Mm-hmm. So and that intent has to be understood properly. So the first thing I'm going to do is to talk to the writer to understand things. When I have that understanding, then I can translate that into my design rightly. Okay. So when there's misinterpretation of a copy, there's no way the design will align with the writer's intent.
Right. So what challenges would you say, or what would you say is your major challenge as a graphic designer?
I think one of the major challenges I face as a designer is creative block.
Oh.
When you do design consistently over time, there's every tendency that law of diminishing return might set in.
Okay.
Yeah. When you do the same thing consistently, so there's every tendency for that to happen, and it becomes difficult for you to come up with new concepts. Mm-hmm. And a writer might not understand the reasons behind some decisions I make in designs, which could be frustrating. When you know you are doing the right thing and taking your time to still explain, and the writer is not still getting it, it will be frustrating. Oh. So that part for me is really challenging most times. I don't know if that question has been answered.
Okay. Yeah, I think to an extent it has, because I know I can't start asking you to list all the challenges, because I'm sure there are truckload.
Yeah.
So the meme displayed on the screen right now, I'm sure you can relate. So can you tell me how you deal with feedback? So with my little knowledge of design, I know how even the slightest change can alter a design. So how do you deal with feedback?
See, let me be very honest today. Every time I send my designs out to be checked, I'm always afraid of the feedback.
Oh.
Because as designers, there's every tendency for us to be emotionally attached to our designs.
Yeah, I think it's all creative.
Yeah. So when you get feedback, sometimes as if the feedback is coming to you directly, not your design. it took me time to separate my designs from myself.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand.
Yeah,
So
I get
the
you.
feedback is not coming to me, it is coming to my
To your
design. So
work.
when I get feedback, rather than being defensive, I try to understand
Okay.
the intent of who is giving the feedback. Like I said earlier on, we could be defensive. So I used to be defensive before now because I felt I was being attacked. Yeah, it took me time to
Okay.
understand that fact.
So, personally,
Okay.
with what you've said, you've been able to overcome that fear of personalizing feedback. So, what were the things, or would I say the steps you took to actually get to this point?
Okay. Then I think a lot.
Okay.
So before I started taking feedback rightly, I would get home and I would ponder whatever had been said to me. So I realized that the feedback were not coming to me directly. They were coming for the designs.
Okay.
So I separated myself from my design.
Okay.
I separated my emotion from my designs then. And that helped me.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. So after then, it was easy for me to accept feedback with positive mindset. Then I realized that I had to separate my emotion from my designs. After making that decision, it was easy for me to take feedback with the right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that the feedback were meant for the design to be improved on rather than attacking me as a person. So I think the first thing I need to do is to evaluate the feedback I'm getting.
Wow.
Because what you just showed me now, it's kind of very funny.
Him is like, yeah.
So most times I will just check it like this. Yeah, it is really funny. When you get feedback like, I love the design, but just understand that you are starting design all over again.
It's always a but.
Yeah, when you get buts, just understand that you have to start the design all over again, because a slight change might affect the whole layout, might affect the everything about the design. A single word can affect the design layout. Most client or writers, they don't have the understanding of this. They feel like you can just make the adjustment, but it's like you are starting design all over again. You might need to change the picture, you might need to change everything about the design. So most designers, we don't like getting feedback because it is like you are repeating the same process all over again.
Okay.
So if I understand, or if I'm sure of what I have done as a designer, I'll take my time to explain to the writer. Okay, before now, I would just take feedback and make corrections. And I realized that I was making huge mistake. The best thing to do is to explain myself. This is the reason why I made this kind of decision for the design.
Advice.
So most times, the writer will understand things with me. And there are some other times I need to make adjustments based on what the writer is suggesting to me. So there was a day I was working on the design and I was looking for a picture.
Okay.
Then I was so adamant. I was told to look for the picture, checking other sites, but I was insisting that I could not get a better picture.
Okay.
But I tried and I realized I was really wrong. So like that day, I didn't mean I was still defensive. I wouldn't have gotten better results. So I just listened to the writer and I looked for the picture and I got the right picture and design came out nicely then.
Well. Okay, speaking of that, I think we should take a look at this second meme.
Okay.
This one is actually funny because you can see different parts of a car. Like, how would you attach a Corolla to a Benz and to... That's like weird. So in the case where your clients want this and that, okay, let me paint a picture. They want you to put a design of maybe an aeroplane flying with a truck coming out of it. Like, just something absurd. Right? I seriously don't know how to describe this right now. Like, just something absurd. Like, how do you explain to them that, no, this thing can't work, for crying out loud? How do you give that professional advice?
Seriously, now, what you just analyzed now, it's really funny. Like, let me be very sincere with that. And most times, it shows that the client does not really understand what he or she wants.
Yeah, it happens.
So, the best thing to do is to explain things to the client. There are two categories of clients that are difficult to work with.
Okay.
The first category, those that feel like they know too much. They feel like they know too much, rather.
Okay.
And those that know too little about design.
Okay.
And what you just showed me now shows that the person does not really understand what design is all about. Imagine you have a car and you take it to a workshop to be fixed.
Okay.
And you are suggesting things to be done. If you can fix it, then do it yourself. So when the client is suggesting what I should do in designs, most times I feel I'm not being trusted.
Okay.
So now what you just showed me now is really funny. It is like you are combining things that cannot really work together.
Sure.
There's no way you can get the best results. So when I understand that the client does not really understand what he or she wants, the first thing I'm going to do is to patiently explain myself to the client. Explain designs, the basics of designs, in clear terms to the client, possibly the person might really understand that this you are suggesting is not obtainable in designs. And most times, it is easy to think of different things here in our head. So you can think of add this, add car, add aeroplane, add vegetable, and a bit of gala. You can add all these things in your head to make sense. But you tell the designer to do all these things, and he's telling you that it cannot really work. By the time you see the result, you'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
So most times, I take my time to explain, this thing cannot really work. It can't work like this. Because the combination of Benz and Corolla, the output, just try to picture the name in your head. It's really, really funny.
Corolla Benz, Corolla.
Benz Corolla. Yeah, it won't really work. So most times, I take my time to just explain, this thing cannot really work like this.
Okay.
And if the client should insist, do you know what I would do?
What?
I'll please the client, and I'll show the client the result. Then I will now do what is right and show the client. Most times they will pick what I feel is right. Do you understand? I will show them the comparison between the two of what they are thinking I should do and what I feel is right for them to do.
Okay, so thank you so much for that. Like this, I'm sure so many designers can relate to this. In fact, creatives generally, because I think the creative process it's intertwined, it's linked.
Yeah.
Like writers face their challenges, like so many things happen. So thank you so much for that. So one last word for creatives out there, graphic designers to be specific.
Okay.
Just one advice for them.
Okay. I think design is ever evolving industry, and you cannot just stick to a pattern and feel like you are all right with it.
Okay.
There's a need for you to learn constantly. When I check my designs, like even if I should check designs I did yesterday, today, some of those designs I cannot post them again because I must have learned one or two things today. So every day is an avenue for me to learn new stuffs. So a designer must learn things constantly because design is evolving. There was a time you could use different colors and just produce a design. But now there's a new trend. Simplicity is the key. That's the new trend in design. So imagine that you are stuck with just adding color, rainbow. So you see some design, they look like rainbow. Green, yellow, indigo, and all those things, everything packed together, and people will still appreciate it. But now things are changing. So as we are moving in time, a designer must constantly evolve, learn new stuff, read books. One of the things I've noticed in designers is that the only thing they know about is their softwares. They don't read books. We need to understand design elements, design principles. These are the things that will guide our decisions in design making. So you cannot be a better designer if you don't read. I read a lot. I love reading because it will add to your knowledge in design. So you don't just make designs carelessly. If you had a dot in design, there must be a reason for it. Yeah. So you cannot just do things carelessly. If you don't read, if you don't learn constantly, you just make designs. You make careless designs. So you must learn constantly as a designer. You cannot just stick to a particular pattern and feel like you are all right with it. So constantly you must learn. One of the things I feel designers don't do is that they don't read. I'm not saying all designers, most of them, they don't really read. So we feel like knowing how to use Photoshop, knowing how to use CorelDRAW is enough, but it is not. So you have to read constantly. Read about design principles, design elements, read articles on designs, check videos. By the time you do these things constantly, you will realize that you continue to grow. So my principle is learn to grow. You cannot grow without learning. So it has become your habit. So I feel that is what will really make designers really improve. That would be my advice to designers generally. Keep evolving.
Wow, I think that advice is not just for designers. Like creatives generally need to learn from this. Because even writers, you need to read. As editors, you need to read. Anyone involved in the creative process, reading is a necessity. So thank you so much for that, Fermi. But one more thing before you go, tell us one thing people don't know about you. I usually tell people not your favorite color, not your best.
Okay.
Yes.
It's kind of really funny.
Okay.
I have phobia for cockroach.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really funny. That's really funny. Oh wow. So something we don't know about Femi. Femi has a phobia for cockroach. So I'm sure if he sees one right now, he's just going to run. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that, Femi. I'm sure you guys enjoyed everything he said. As creatives, as designers, I'm sure you picked one or two lessons from the tips, the tricks, and all is shared for us today. So if you've not subscribed to our channel, please do so now. Like, click the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on your notification because you don't want to miss any of our content as we upload. Guys, you don't want to miss it. You don't know who will be bringing next to your screen. So please do well to hit your notification button to get more content as we upload. So thank you so much for staying with us on today's episode of Creatives Panoply. Till we come your way next time, I'm Folakemi. Bye.